Everyone. Today we're going to be talking about 5.2, which is generating equivalent ratios. We have actually briefly talked about this, but the first thing I want to talk about is this word equivalent and what that word actually means. And equivalent means equal. So although sometimes in math we might see things that have different numbers, if we simplify or find an equivalent ratio to it, it's actually equal to the original. So let's go ahead and get started. So one of the things we talked about briefly recently is that you can actually simplify a ratio. And in order to simplify a ratio, that means that you have to divide both terms by the same number, which is very similar to simplifying a fraction. So in this case, if we're comparing 16 fish to 48 pets, you might be able to simplify. Some students might look at this and go, oh, I know that 8 goes into both of these. So if you divide the top and bottom part of the ratio by 8, you would find that you are comparing 2 fish to 6 pets. Now, something else you might also notice is you can simplify this ratio even further. I know that 2 goes into both 2 and 6, so if I divide both by 2, then in the end, we're actually comparing 1 fish to every 3 pets. So something that I would like to stress is that this ratio is equivalent to this ratio, which is also equivalent to this ratio. So these are all equivalent to one another. Even though they have different values, since they are simplified from one another, they are still considered equivalent or equal. Another way that you can find equivalent ratios is if you multiply both terms by the same number. So just the opposite inverse operation of dividing for simplifying. So if they wanted me to write 3 ratios for the ratio 4 to 5, I'm going to rewrite this like a fraction because sometimes it's easier to multiply both when it's in fractional form. So this is the ratio 4 to 5. An equivalent ratio to this would be 8 to 10. All I did was multiplied both of these values by 2. So an equivalent ratio for that would be 8 to 10. Another equivalent ratio would be 12 to 15. As you can see, I just multiplied each value by 3 in that case, so this is another equivalent ratio. Remember that they wanted me to list 3, so I have one more I have to create, and I'm going to make it super easy on myself, and I'm going to do 40 to 50. So you don't necessarily have to go in order multiplying. I just multiplied both of these by 10. So this is another equivalent ratio to 4 to 5. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to actually apply our knowledge of ratios in problem solving. So this is a ratio of kids who wear glasses to kids who do not wear glasses is 4 to 9. So the first thing I'm going to do is label. They want us to compare kids with glasses to no glasses. Now remember the other day I did mention that if you want to abbreviate, you can. If you want to write these out in words, if that's easier for you, please continue to do that. And the ratio they gave us was 4 to 9. We know how important order is, so I know that this means 4 to 9. Okay. They're telling us then that 12 students are wearing glasses. So out of the 12 students, I see glasses are up top. 12 students are wearing glasses. They want to know how many students are not wearing glasses. So I have to figure out this value. I know that 4 times 3 gives me 12. So 9 times 3. This means that there are, 9 times 3 is 27. There are 27 students not wearing glasses. Not wearing glasses. It's important to label your answer just so that I have an idea that you know what you actually solved for and not just putting 27. 27 what? Okay, this one. A recipe for pancakes calls for 3 cups of flour to 2 cups of milk. Many kids want to say that you're comparing cups to cups. Well, be more specific. We're comparing flour, cups of flour, to cups of milk. So flour to milk is what we are comparing. And as they told us previously, for every 3 cups of flour, there are 2 cups of milk. Okay? The other piece of information they give us is that if you have 4 cups of milk, so since it's labeled with milk, I know that milk goes in the bottom. Please don't just get in the habit of popping that number in the top. Make sure that you actually match the label to your ratio. And they want to know how many cups of flour we're going to need. So I'm going to put an X there because that's what we're solving for. I know that 2 times 4 gives, 2 times 2, I apologize, gives me 4. So I know that 3 times 2 is going to give me 6. So this means that you will need 6 cups of flour. Okay, so from here, I'm going to skip over this one. A couple of things that I want to go over. So this is really important that you always read the question. So we're using this one as a perfect example. We're actually going to skip this one because there are a couple of other ones on the other slides that I want to get to. It says a math club has a total of 22 members, of which 16 are females. So I'm going to underline 22 members. 16 are females. It says that the rest are males. What is the ratio of males to all club members? So I'm going to underline this. This is very important. Okay, so first and foremost, I know that we're talking about a math club, and there are males and females. So I'm going to put females and males. They already tell us that there are 16 females. So I'm going to put 16 in the top. I have no idea how many males there are. Okay, we need to actually solve for that. The other piece of information they give us is that there are a total of 22 members. So if there are a total of 22 members and 16 of them are females, the rest have to be males. So when I subtract out the 16 females, the remaining, which ends up being 6, are males. So a lot of kids stop there and say, great, I solved it. The answer is 6 males. But that's not the question that they asked us. What is the ratio of males? So I know that there are 6 males to all club members. There are 22 total members. So the answer would be 6 to 22. Please also don't forget, since we're talking about equivalent ratios, you can actually simplify this as well. So if you simplify by dividing both of these by 2, another answer could also be 3 males to 11 total members. These are the same thing. So either one of these answers would work. So please make sure that you read the question carefully. You're going to see that in just a second as well. Okay. This one, the ratio of girls to boys on a swim club was 2 to 4. So I'm comparing girls to boys. Make sure that you always label it in the order that it's given. So girls to boys is 2 to 4. 2 to 4. It says that there were 14 girls. 14 girls. So that's going to go on the top for girls. We need to figure out the number of boys. Okay, so I know that 2 times 7 gives me 14. So 4 times 7 gives me 28. So there are 28 boys. 28 boys. Okay, well, the problem here is that's not the question they asked us. They asked how many total members were there in the club. Okay, so this is important. There were 14 girls and 28 boys. So we're going to have to add those together. So we have 28 boys plus 14 girls. There are a total of 42 members. So please make sure, sometimes when we're solving ratios, we're just trying to solve for answering the question. Okay, I'm going to skip this one because there are more pressing questions that I want to get to. Okay, this one, the ratio of boys to girls in 6th grade is 2 to 3. So I know I'm comparing boys to girls. And they tell us the ratio is 2 to 3. 2 to 3. Okay. The next part is interesting because it says if there are a total of 30 students, how many are boys? Okay, so the problem we have here are neither one of these are labeled students. There are boy students and there are girl students, but there's nothing here labeled with an S that specifies students. So there's nowhere I can put this 30. So pay very close attention. Right now, I need to combine these two. So I have to do 2 plus 3 to figure out how many total students I have here. So if I have 2 boys and 3 girls, that's a total of 5 students. Now we need to ask ourselves, what can you do to 5 to get 30? Because ultimately they want me to have 30 students. And I know that 5 times 6 equals 30. So this times 6, I'm going to circle because this is extremely important. What we're going to do now is we're going to write an equivalent ratio multiplying both of these numbers by 6. So I'm going to do 2 times 6 and 3 times 6. So 2 times 6 gives me 12 boys, that's labeled here. 3 times 6 gives me 18 girls, since it's labeled there. Now let's go back to the question. It's asking how many are boys? So I can answer there are 12 boys. If you need to double check, we know that 12 plus 18 does equal the total 30 students. The only time you do this format where you have to total your original ratio is when they're asking you for a total number of players or students or members, or if you notice that the label of the other value that they give you does not match your original ratio. Okay, let's try another one. This one. The ratio of adults to kids at a cookout was 5 to 2. So once again, I know I'm comparing adults to kids, and I know that the ratio is 5 to 2. Okay? If there are a total of 42 people, so this is where I'm having trouble. This is labeled 42 people. It doesn't say 42 adults. It doesn't say 42 kids. So I have no idea how many of these 42 people are adults and how many are kids. So let's go ahead and figure this out. What we need to do is figure out how many total people do I have right here. So if I have 5 adults and 2 kids, that's a total of 7 people. And I know that 7 times 6 equals 42, which is what I want it to equal. I want it to equal the 42. Now, I know the last one was times 6 and this one's times 6. That just is a coincidence. It will not always be times 6. Let me be clear about that. Okay, so now I need to write an equivalent ratio multiplying both of these by 6. So 5 times 6 and 2 times 6. Let's see what we get. So I get 5 times 6 is 30 adults, and 2 times 6 is 12 kids. So the question is asking how many were adults and how many were kids. So there were 30 adults and 12 kids. Okay, let's do one more. This one says the ratio of green to yellow M&Ms is 3 to 5. So we're comparing green to yellow M&Ms. So green to yellow. And they tell us that the ratio is 3 to 5. If there are a total of 72 green and yellow, So they combine them. If there's a total of 72 green and yellow, how many of the M&Ms are yellow? Okay, so let's go ahead and look at this. We don't know, it's not saying that there are 72 green, it's saying that there are 72 green and yellow combined. So first, let's figure out how many are combined here. So we know that if there are 3 green and 5 yellow, that's a total of 8 M&Ms. And we know 8 times 9 gives us 72. I'm going to circle that times 9 because it's going to be really important when we write our equivalent ratio. So I have to multiply both of these values times 9. So we have 3 times 9 is 27 green, and 5 times 9 is 45 yellow. It is asking in the question, how many of the M&Ms are yellow? So there are 45 yellow M&Ms. I hope that this was helpful for you.